Hey everyone, and welcome to the jthomas Gym Business Explainer, which is powered by our friends at maxmembers.ai. It's great to have all of you with us today, whether you're a gym owner, an operator, a manager, a salesperson, an entrepreneur, or a personal trainer. Oh, and a quick note for those of you looking to open a new gym, acquire one, or maybe you just need some working capital, we can help with funding options up to $500K. It's totally unsecured, and there are no restrictions on how you use it. You can check us out for that at ffcmconsulting.net. Today, we're going to walk you through a white paper by jthomas, and our goal is simple, to give you some real actionable insights you can use right away.
You know, this quote from Jim really just cuts right to the chase, doesn't it? It's almost never the big obvious things that take a gym down. It's the stuff hiding in the blind spots, the risks you just don't see coming. So today, we're going to shine a massive spotlight on those hidden dangers and help you build a business that's truly built to last.
So here's how we've laid it all out. We're going to kick things off by talking about those unseen risks. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of your legal foundation, the physical space, and your team. And then, and this is the really cool part, we'll show you how to stop thinking of compliance as a chore and start using it as a serious strategy for growth.
Okay, let's dive right into Section 1. Look, we all stress about slow sales weeks, right? But the truth is, a single compliance mistake can literally shut your doors for good, overnight. That kind of risk makes a slow week look like a walk in the park.
Let's just be real for a second. Nobody gets into this business because they love paperwork and regulations. You're in it for the high energy, the community, for seeing people transform their lives. But all that exciting stuff, it needs to stand on something solid. And that solid ground is professionalism. And, you guessed it, compliance. It's absolutely essential.
So, where do we even begin to build that solid foundation? That brings us to Section 2, the legal stuff. These are the things you have to get right before you even think about selling your first membership.
All right, this is one of the first and most critical decisions you'll make. Operating your gym as a sole proprietorship, honestly, it's a huge gamble. It means there is zero legal difference between you and the business. So if someone gets hurt or sues the gym, your personal assets, we're talking your house, your car, your savings, they're all on the line. But setting up an LLC or an S-Corp creates a legal shield, a firewall between your business and your personal life. For a brick-and-mortar gym, this isn't a suggestion, it's non-negotiable.
Oof, this is a question that should give every single gym operator pause. Your lease might seem like a standard, boring document, but trust me, it can hide some absolutely devastating surprises if you don't check it with a fine-tooth comb before you sign.
These 3 steps are beyond crucial. I mean, we've all heard the horror stories. Someone signs a 10-year lease, starts pouring money into a build-out, only to be told by the city that the zoning is wrong or they don't have enough parking spaces for a gym. Can you imagine? Those are the kinds of expensive, business-killing mistakes that are 100% avoidable if you just do this homework up front.
And this right here, this is the final boss. The Certificate of Occupancy, or CO. Think of it as the city's official stamp of approval. It's their way of saying, okay, this place is safe, it meets all the building codes, the fire codes, the accessibility codes. Without this piece of paper, you legally cannot open your doors to the public. End of story. Okay, moving on to Section 3. So, you've got the legal side buttoned up. Now we've got to look at the physical space itself and the people working inside it. This is where compliance becomes something you see and touch every single day.
A visit from the fire marshal should be no big deal, right? Just a routine check. It should not be a cause for sheer panic. Things like clearly marked exits, working emergency lights, and having the right fire extinguishers, these are the basics. And a simple violation like a burnt-out bulb and an exit sign, that's not a small oopsie. That can be enough for them to shut you down right there on the spot. Now this is a big one. Lawsuits related to the Americans with Disabilities Act are incredibly common in our industry. And the thing is, you can't go to court and say, oops, I didn't know. That is not a defense. You have to ensure your entrances are accessible, that there are clear paths to and between equipment, and that your restrooms are compliant. And really, this isn't just about avoiding a lawsuit. It's about being a welcoming place for absolutely everyone. Your team is your #1 asset, but you have to make sure they've got the right credentials. Your insurance company is going to expect, and in many cases demand, that your trainers have certs from reputable organizations and that your entire staff is up to date on CPR, AED, and first aid. This isn't just a box to check for insurance, it's about keeping your members safe. And here's a really modern-day challenge. Using independent trainers can be a fantastic business model, but Jim points to this as one of the top liability risks out there. Are you actually verifying they have their own insurance? Do you have proper agreements in writing? If you misclassify them as contractors when they're really acting like employees, you could find yourself in a world of hurt with the IRS and your state labor board.
All right, on to Section 4. Let's talk about your financial armor, because all this hard work we've been talking about can be completely wiped out in an instant if you don't have the right contracts and insurance policies to protect you when things inevitably go wrong.
I want you to think of these as the 4 legs of the table. You need all of them for it to be stable. General liability covers things like slip and falls. Professional liability is for training-related incidents. Property insurance protects your equipment and the building itself. And, of course, if you have employees, workers' comp is a must. This is the absolute minimum. Okay, for all of you running 24/7 clubs, please listen closely to this one. That unstaffed access model is incredibly popular, but it carries a very specific set of risks that your off-the-shelf standard insurance policy might not cover at all.
And here's the bombshell. Buried deep in the fine print of so many standard policies is a little clause that excludes any incident that happens when staff isn't on site. So you could be paying your premium every month, thinking you're totally covered, only to find out a major claim is denied because it happened at 2 a.m. You have got to read your policy and get written confirmation that you are covered 24/7.
You know, whenever there's a dispute with a member, this is ground zero. Your membership agreement is a legal document, and it's governed by very specific consumer protection laws that change from state to state. Does it have the right language about cancellations? The proper disclosures about auto renewals? An old, outdated contract is basically a welcome mat for an opposing lawyer.
And that brings us to our final section, and this is where we get to flip the script. Because compliance isn't just about defense, it's not just about avoiding problems. When you do it right, it becomes one of the best offensive tools you have for building a truly valuable business.
You know, there are really 2 kinds of operators in this industry. There's the amateur, who is just laser-focused on the next sale, often cutting corners to get it. Then there's the sophisticated operator. They understand that solid systems and good documentation aren't just annoying overhead. They are the very things that build real, long-term, sustainable value.
So, how does all this boring stuff actually make your gym worth more money? Well, think about it. When a potential buyer comes to look at your business, they're not just buying your treadmills and your member list. They're buying predictability. They're buying safety. A gym with clean contracts, documented safety procedures, and a solid compliance record is simply a less risky investment. And less risk always means a higher valuation. It proves you run a tight ship, and buyers will pay a premium for that peace of mind.
And let's wrap it up with this powerful idea from Jim. Great marketing will get people in the door, no doubt. But it's great management, which is all rooted in solid compliance, that keeps the business healthy, protects it from risk, and builds real, lasting value for years to come. Taking this stuff seriously is what separates the gyms that thrive from the ones that are always struggling. If any of this has raised some questions about your own operation, I really encourage you to reach out to Jim Thomas directly. His number is 214-629-7223. And his email is jthomas@fmconsulting.net. And also, a big thank you to our sponsor, Gym Business Manager, for the best software in the business. Check him out at gymbusinessmanager.com. Thanks so much for tuning in.